Hello, Chillify. Your scriptwriter is ready. On a rare free weekend at home, after a stressful week of work, instead of enjoying some peace, I was constantly bombarded with calls from my grandmother. She relentlessly urged me to get married, making me feel utterly vexed. It was as if all she cared about was whether I'd managed to snag a husband. She nagged, complained, and even threatened me with a lonely old age without anyone to care for me. Are you even listening to me, child? Go find someone. Who's going to look after you when you're old? If you don't get married, you won't even be able to get your own food. These words echoed repeatedly, truly exhausting me. After hanging up with Grandma, I just lay stretched out on my bed, trying to relax and scroll through social media to forget her incessant torment. Then I video called my best friend, Chloe, to confide in her. But lately, Chloe had been so immersed in her new relationship that she barely paid any attention to me. Every time we talked, she'd seize the opportunity to advise and push me to find a new relationship. She said, "Hailey, ever since you broke up with Liam, you've been living like a nun. That's not right." I sighed. "Don't even start. Listening to you talk so much reminds me too much of my grandma." Chloe changed her tone. All right. So want to hang out this afternoon?" "I guess so," I agreed. Just as I was about to set a specific time and place, the doorbell suddenly rang, interrupting our conversation. A voice called out, "Your food is here." So the food had arrived so quickly. I called back, "Just leave it at the door." Hurriedly putting on a coat and pants, my mind suddenly recalled my grandma's earlier nagging. "Too old and weak to get out of bed, can't even get your own food." Who is she looking down on anyway? I set my phone aside and turned to my best friend. "Chloe, watch me perform a special talent for you." Witnessing me slowly crawling down from the bed, Chloe looked bewildered. "What are you doing?" I propped my hands on the floor, trying not to use any strength from my waist down, painstakingly inching my way towards the door. After just a few crawls, I was already out of breath. But it's okay, this is just the first time. I'll get used to it gradually. I'll prove to everyone that even if I'm old and bedridden, I'll never starve to death. The short distance from the bed to the door, only about 6 or 7 meters, took me nearly 4 minutes to cover. As soon as I reached the door, I breathed a sigh of relief, stretched out my arm, my fingers trembling, finally touching the doorknob. Click! The door opened, but the moment I looked outside, I felt as if the sky had caved in. Why did the delivery person leave the food so far away? Chloe, on the other end of the line, frantically called out to me, "Get up quickly. What if someone sees you?" I stubbornly replied, "It's fine, no one usually passes by. I've crawled all this way, I can't give up halfway." As I spoke, I put all my strength into my arms, inching myself forward another long stretch. My upper body was now out the door. I reached out to grab the food bag. Darn it, still a little short. I had to crawl a bit further. I was so focused on crawling that I completely failed to notice the elevator door at the end of the hallway slowly opening. When my fingers finally hooked into the food bag, I let out a sigh of relief. It was only then that I heard footsteps very close by. My heart tensed. I quickly turned my head to look back, and there they were. Several tall men in dark blue uniforms standing not far away, looking at me with surprised expressions. The one leading the group held a stack of fire safety pamphlets in his hand. After blinking repeatedly to adjust my vision, my gaze inadvertently settled on the familiar figure of the man standing at the very end. It was Liam. He stood out in the crowd with his exceptional height and neatly trimmed hair. Compared to the last time I saw him, he seemed a little thinner. This only sharpened the features of his face, making them more defined and angular. At this moment, his eyebrows were slightly furrowed, his deep eyes holding a dark, unreadable expression, as if burdened with unspoken thoughts. "Hello, ma'am, can we help you?" The lead firefighter approached, asking me kindly with a look full of concern and, it seemed, a hint of pity. The feeling of being the center of attention made my cheeks burn. An extreme sense of shame enveloped me. In this awkward situation, I quickly hugged the food bag tightly, trying to crawl backward awkwardly. "Thank you, no need, please don't mind me." In my haste to escape, I completely forgot to stand up and run, only burying my face in my long hair to hide my blushing face. After scrambling backward into the house, just as I was about to reach out and slam the door shut, a pair of black short boots suddenly appeared right before my eyes. My hand froze immediately, clutching the doorframe so tightly that my knuckles turned white. Liam slowly squatted down. I looked up at him, trying to regain my composure, and forced a smile. Hi, what a coincidence. He remained silent for a long time, not saying a word. Meeting my ex-boyfriend in this pathetic state, I felt so embarrassed I wanted to disappear into the ground. I bent my right leg, intending to stand up, when Liam's deep voice broke the silence. When you broke up with me back then, was it because of your illness? I looked up at him, noticing that Liam's eyes were a little red-rimmed. After a fierce internal struggle, I lowered my leg again and stammered, "No, that had nothing to do with you." I completely forgot that my best friend, Chloe, was watching the entire scene through our video call from the next apartment complex. She had witnessed everything, and she also knew that I still harbored feelings for Liam. Chloe is mischievous and full of playful tricks. The moment I finished speaking, she shouted into the phone, "Hailey, I told you I'd come over and cook for you, but you wouldn't listen. Your wheelchair's broken, so get it fixed. Can't you rely on me a little?" Seeing you like this truly breaks my heart, I gasped in shock, finding it hard to continue the charade. Just as I was about to find an excuse to close the door, I heard Liam turn to his colleagues and say, "You all go check the two houses next door. I'll take care of this one." "Oh, okay." They exchanged glances, then split into two groups, each heading in a different direction. I was still stunned, not understanding what was happening, when Liam bent down and scooped me up princess style. One of my hands was still clutching the food bag. He walked steadily, and I leaned into him. I could almost hear the strong beat of his heart against my ear, or maybe it was my own heart pounding. Liam gently placed me on the bed. He stood by the bed for a moment, then placed a fire safety pamphlet on my bedside table. "Remember to read this." "Yes, I know." He fell silent again for a while, then finally spoke. "Your leg, is it a rare condition?" My best friend on the other end of the line quickly answered for me. "Don't even mention it, it's Hailey's biggest nightmare." She really had a big mouth and just blurted out whatever came to mind. Fearing she might accidentally say something awful, I quickly snatched my phone and ended the video call. "Don't listen to her nonsense," I quickly explained. "It's all right," Liam replied. "If you don't want to talk about it, then don't." His eyes seemed to grow redder. He quickly tilted his head away to conceal his emotions. "I'll go check your kitchen for a bit." After he left the room, I stared blankly at the ceiling, feeling utterly miserable. It had been 2 years since we broke up, but it seemed I still couldn't forget him. However, using this method to deceive him, my conscience was gnawing at me. I couldn't forgive myself. I started pulling at my hair, the battle between an angel and a devil raging inside me. About 10 minutes later, Liam emerged from the kitchen looking a little awkward. "I've checked everything, no issues. I'm on duty today, so I can't stay long." "No, it's fine. Please go ahead with your work." He walked towards the door, then suddenly turned back to ask me, "You haven't changed your phone number, have you?" "No, I haven't." "Then I'll contact you later." He turned, opened the door, and stepped out. I saw him holding something dark and lumpy in his right hand and suddenly asked curiously, "What's in the bag in your right hand?" His face flushed and he stammered, I helped you clean up. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this." I was a little stunned, not understanding what was happening. I carefully looked at what he was holding again, trying to decipher what it was. Suddenly, a horrifying thought flashed in my mind. "Oh my goodness, what is this disgusting thing that looks so much like puppy poop?" Yesterday, Chloe, my best friend, had brought her 2 hyperactive dogs to my place. After they left, I kept smelling a faint foul odor in the house but couldn't find the source no matter where I looked. At this moment, I looked up at Liam, who again looked awkward, intentionally avoiding my gaze, not daring to look straight at me. Damn it, this guy must think I just pooped on the floor. Seeing him about to turn and push the door open, I turned livid and shouted, "Stop right there." Liam froze, standing rigidly as if struck by lightning. I tried to calm myself, taking a deep breath to quell the surging anger before I dared to speak, my voice trembling slightly. Yesterday, Chloe brought her 2 dogs to my place. You understand what I mean, right?" He paused for a moment, a look of surprise flashing in his eyes, as if he understood something, but he didn't say much, only smiled awkwardly and replied, I know," then quickly pushed the door open and left. The door closed, and the room once again plunged into an unsettling silence. Not long after, Chloe called, as if she had timed it perfectly. "So, he's gone." Her voice chirped with excitement. I replied curtly, "Chloe, come on, hurry and rekindle the flame." She was especially agitated, but I was very calm, even a little indifferent. "I don't think we can rekindle anything." "Why not?" Chloe asked, surprised. "Your 2 crazy dogs pooped in my house and he found it. He thought it was asterisk my asterisk poop, I sighed. Didn't you explain? She asked again. I did explain. Tears streamed down my face, my voice choked. But I think he didn't believe me. He probably even thinks I'm blaming it on the dogs. I'm going to die. In short, for the foreseeable future, I probably wouldn't have the face to meet him again. But perhaps I was overthinking things. He probably had no intention of finding me anyway. Those promises to contact me later were probably just polite small talk. It had been several days, and there hadn't been a single message or call from him. But that was normal. After all, it was my fault we broke up in the first place. I was the one who was in the wrong. I sat listlessly on a park bench by the river, quietly placing my phone beside me. Couples walked by behind me, holding hands, laughing happily. Though no one knows what the future holds, at least at this moment, they were enjoying their sweetest moments. I couldn't help but reminisce about memories from 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Liam and I were seemingly just like that. Liam and I were university classmates, and we met because of a rare incident. During military training, the whole group crowded into the canteen for lunch. Preoccupied with watching the crowd, I wasn't paying attention to where I was going and accidentally bumped head-on into a male student passing by. He was fine, just staggered a bit, but I was sent flying and even broke my leg. In truth, I was in the wrong, and I didn't want him to take responsibility. But he carried me up and down the stairs every day, regardless of the difficulty, taking me to the hospital on time to change dressings and check my wound. I suddenly felt that this male student was incredibly kind, and he wasn't bad-looking either. Too many reasons made my heart flutter, and I began to entertain thoughts I shouldn't have. My leg hadn't even fully healed, and I was already wondering how to pursue him. Looking back now, perhaps I used up all the good fortune of the rest of my life to pursue Liam to succeed so remarkably. We officially started dating in our second year of university. Our personalities matched perfectly, and our conversations were incredibly in sync. He always created small, surprising moments in my ordinary life that made me incredibly happy. We climbed Mount Tai together at night, braving the chilling wind to watch the glorious sunrise, and we once took a train for an entire day and night to explore the mysterious land of Tibet. He once ignored the judgmental stares of those around us, stood under a sky filled with dazzling fireworks, and loudly declared, "I will live a good life with Hailey forever." The onlookers buzzed with chatter, and I felt shy, quickly covering my face in embarrassment, but he reached out and pulled me into a tight embrace. He said, "This is good. With so many people hearing it, you won't be able to regret it later." I nestled in his warm embrace, hearing his heart pound, my face burning, but my eyes shining with happiness. "Hailey, look, the fireworks are so beautiful." His voice rang out, full of excitement, making my heart flutter along with his. Without delay, I looked up at the dazzling night sky. Fireworks bloomed, myriad in shape and form, illuminating the entire space. Amidst that sparkling, ethereal light, Liam gently lowered his head and gave me a soft, yet passionate kiss. "Marked it," he said, his tone a little playful, a little resolute. It's no exaggeration to say that Liam carved a deep, indelible mark on my youth. "Hailey," Chloe's voice echoed from a distance, pulling me back to reality. I startled and turned my head to see her running toward us, a little out of breath from her speed. "The traffic was terrible," she complained, then plopped down on a nearby bench to rest. "Where are we going to hang out later?" she asked, trying to catch her breath. I thought for a moment and replied, "Let's walk around the park for a bit, then go to the recently opened mall. In the evening, we can have spicy hot pot at the night market." "Okay," Chloe enthusiastically responded. Although she was resting, her eyes never left me, as if probing for questions about Liam's sudden appearance. Sensing her intention, I decided to proactively change the subject to avoid awkward questions. Soon, her attention was diverted to her idol's concert, which would be held in the neighboring city next week. I breathed a sigh of relief, silently thanking myself for my successful diversion. After Chloe had recovered her strength, we stood up, ready to continue our stroll. But suddenly, Chloe froze, squinting into the distance. "Hailey, look over there. There's a group of handsome guys, and one of them looks familiar." I was bewildered, not understanding what was happening, so I followed the direction of her finger. A group of firefighters in characteristic blue training uniforms were jogging towards us. And the one running at the very end, shouting slogans as he ran, was none other than Liam. My entire body stiffened, as if frozen in place. A numb sensation spread from my feet to the top of my head. Just then, someone pushing a wheelchair with an old lady passed by. Seeing Chloe's and my bewildered expressions, the old lady smiled cryptically. "Young ladies, is this your first time at this park? There's a fire station nearby. The firefighters often come here to jog." Seeing our confused looks, she pointed again. "Look, those girls over there are also here because of them, especially that tall guy running at the end. He has many admirers." Chloe and I looked in the direction the old lady pointed. Indeed, 3 or 4 girls were sitting on a bench not far away, even deliberately wearing sunglasses to look cooler. "Professional, aren't they?" Chloe murmured. "But is that the main point?" "Of course not. The main point is Liam is about to see me. And right now, I'm standing firmly in 6-centimeter high heels. Oh well, consider this an opportunity to clarify everything with him. I was about to give up and face the truth, but Chloe wouldn't have it. "Don't be so silly. Don't you want to rekindle your past relationship with him? Hailey, bring out that thick skin you used to pursue him. Now is not the time to tell the truth. At the very least, you need to find out if he still has feelings for you. This is a good opportunity." After saying that, she took long strides, grabbing the old lady who was nearly 2 meters away from us. Under the bewildered gaze of the old lady, she forced a smile. "Grandma, could we borrow something?" We should consider ourselves lucky that in the park, besides the jogging firefighters and affectionate couples, there were still elderly people exercising. We traded 2 boxes of eggs for the right to use the old lady's wheelchair for an hour. "Seems like I'm losing 2 boxes of eggs here," the old lady grumbled. Chloe quickly pulled the blanket from the back of the wheelchair, covering my legs, then very naturally pushed the wheelchair forward. Just as we glided past Liam and his teammates, Hailey. Liam turned his head, a look of surprise in his eyes. Chloe also inadvertently exclaimed, "Liam, what a coincidence." Liam signaled his teammates, telling them to rest ahead, then turned and walked quickly towards us. Having just finished training, his dark blue uniform was drenched in sweat, clinging to his body and revealing the firm contours beneath the damp fabric. He wiped the beads of sweat from his forehead with his sleeve, maintaining a respectful distance, about 2 steps from our group. His eyes seemed unable to control themselves, unconsciously drawn to me. More precisely, his gaze lingered on my legs. My hands tightened on the edge of the thin blanket covering my legs, and I tried to lower my head, not daring to meet his probing gaze. "Liam," Chloe's voice broke the silence, "do you have a little free time now?" she continued. "Just about 10 minutes. Liam's eyes turned to Chloe. I also looked up at her. This situation was indeed a bit sudden. We hadn't even agreed on a contingency plan, but Chloe's quick wit always surprised people. "Yes," Liam replied curtly. "What's wrong?" "I have a stomachache." Chloe hugged her stomach tightly, grimacing in feigned pain. "Would you mind watching Hailey for a moment? I have to go to the restroom urgently." She clutched her stomach with both hands as if she couldn't bear it for another second. At that very moment, we were on a gentle slope. In an instant, the wheelchair started to roll. I couldn't help but scream, "Chloe, ah." The old lady's wheelchair was well maintained. The wheel joints operated surprisingly smoothly. In just a flash, I had slid quite a distance. "Oh my God," Chloe cried out in a panic, frantically chasing after me. But her speed was clearly no match for Liam's. I was so scared my soul nearly flew out of my body. In theory, this wheelchair should definitely have brakes, but I had no idea how to use them. I was about to risk using my healthy legs to jump off the chair when a figure suddenly appeared quickly in front of me. Liam grabbed the handrail of the wheelchair with one hand and extended his other arm forward, preventing me from being flung out by inertia. My hands instinctively clung to his arm. I looked up at Liam. His face still carried a profound look of worry that hadn't yet faded. Chloe, seemingly slower than Liam, finally caught up. Seeing that the situation was stable, she quickly changed direction and headed the other way. Well, I'm off to the restroom," Chloe called back. Liam pushed my wheelchair onto a flatter, smaller path. Before I could even think of what to say, he spoke first. "After I saw you last time, my team started a special training period and all our phones were confiscated. We won't get them back until tomorrow. It wasn't intentional that I didn't contact you." "Is he?" Explaining himself, I pinched my thigh hard, trying to appear nonchalant, and said, "It's fine." We walked in silence for a while, then Liam suddenly stopped. He moved closer to the wheelchair, squatted down, and looked up at me slightly. "Hailey, can we talk for a bit?" I couldn't run away anymore. I had to face him. My heart couldn't help but beat faster. His eyes were beautiful, bright, and expressive, like a clear lake. I instinctively nodded in agreement, and then I heard him ask, That year, when you broke up with me, was it truly because you were tired of me, or was it because of your illness? This guy, seriously. Has he been watching K-dramas for over 180 minutes or something? Liam's eyes were slightly red. Perhaps he had already conjured up a moving romantic tragedy in his mind. But unfortunately, that wasn't the truth. He was mistaken. I wasn't sick. But I also wasn't tired of him. Our breakup back then was due to many influencing factors. It was an inevitable outcome. I came from a poor rural area, from a fundamentally unfortunate family. My father, while working as a laborer, had a steel bar pierce his chest and died before he could even reach the hospital. The heartless boss fled immediately after the incident. We didn't receive any compensation. My mother remarried a year later, but she was truly unlucky. The man was an alcoholic and a gambler. He lost all his money, drank heavily, and often beat and cursed at my mother and me as a way to vent his anger. My mother endured it all, until I graduated from junior high school when I was admitted to the town's key high school. That day, my stepfather was overjoyed, saying I had brought honor to his family. He bought food and drank a lot of alcohol. As he drank, he looked at me, grinning. "Hailey, you're grown up, truly grown up." That night, he crept into my room. My mother was woken by my screams. She grabbed a pair of scissors and rushed in. But she was too frail, and the scissors in her hand were easily snatched away by that man. My mother, the woman who sacrificed her entire life for me, took that vicious knife to her abdomen just to protect me from that devil. In my frenzy, I screamed, my desperate cries for help echoing out, alarming the neighbors. They, the kind neighbors, did not hesitate to help me call the police. But it was all too late. My mother had left this world, leaving me adrift. The evil perpetrator, that disgusting man, only paid with a 10-year prison sentence. To me, it was too lenient a punishment, utterly unable to soothe my boundless grief. Fortunately, I received help and sponsorship from kind-hearted people, giving me the opportunity to continue my education and complete high school. 3 years of high school were 3 years I dared not slack off for even a second. I harbored the strong will to get into a distant university, to escape this poor, dark mountain region. The small town didn't offer many opportunities. I diligently studied while seizing every moment to work part-time, hoping to save a small sum of money to cover my upcoming university years. On the day the university entrance exam results were announced, I trembled as I watched the numbers appear on the computer screen. My mind was completely blank, then an overwhelming emotion rushed over me. I had been accepted. Since my mother's passing, that was the first time in so many years that I cried. In the small, old internet cafe, I buried my head in my arms in the most secluded corner, sobbing uncontrollably until my tears ran dry. Afterward, I stepped into the university lecture halls, and there, I met Liam. Perhaps it was my upbringing in a challenging environment that forged me into a reserved person, always timid and afraid of bothering others. So, when I broke my leg, my first reaction was to try to act strong, telling him it was fine, nothing was wrong. But being with Liam, I gradually realized that I could still be like other normal girls. I could express anger, I could share joy, I didn't always have to suppress my emotions. Perhaps most people wouldn't understand that being able to be a normal person, living an ordinary life, was once a great, burning dream of mine. But just as that dream was about to come true, my stepfather, Victor, was unexpectedly released after serving his 10-year sentence. That was 2 years ago, and my second year after graduating from university. At that time, Liam had just passed the police entrance exam for the fire safety department and was assigned to a neighboring city. We began a challenging, long-distance relationship. Victor squatted furtively downstairs of my dilapidated rented apartment, blocking my way. He had no intention of harming me. His sole purpose was money. I resolutely refused to give him a single penny, and to intimidate me, he pulled out a photo. It was a picture of me seeing Liam off at the high-speed rail station. "Is this your boyfriend? You little slut, you're good at finding them. A well-off family, isn't he? And good-looking, too." I snatched the photo, looking at him with resentment. "What do you want to do? If you don't give me money, I'll go find him and demand it." He took a drag from his cigarette, the hazy smoke shrouding his wrinkled, distorted face, making him look like a demon. "I'll also have to tell him that 10 years ago I broke into your room, but I didn't do anything yet." I frowned, roaring with anger, but he only sneered slyly. "Who would know about that? Oh, your mother knew, but she's dead, isn't she?" Afterward, the villagers came. They only saw you with disheveled clothes. Didn't they spread rumors? You can't explain it clearly, Hailey. You can never explain it clearly. I no longer remember how I reacted then. I only felt my head spinning dizzy, having to cling to the wall to stand steady. In that moment, I thought of decisively stabbing him to death. At worst, we'd die together. But why? I had worked so hard, struggled so much to get into university, to escape that remote, backward place. I had just finished my internship at the company. The leadership highly valued my abilities. My future was incredibly bright. Why should I die with this scum? I was unwilling, and I didn't want that. I wanted to call the police, but Victor had already seen through my intentions. Go ahead and call. As long as I'm not sentenced to death, I can still get out. And when I get out, the first thing I'll do is find you. Then you won't have a chance to regret it. The barefoot aren't afraid of those with shoes. Victor had nothing left to lose. 10 years in prison had made him darker and more terrifying than ever. A single glance from his eyes was enough to make me tremble, unable to resist. To temporarily keep him at bay, I spent all my long-saved money, even taking an advance on a month's salary from my company. But that money was like a drop in the ocean. It fundamentally solved nothing. My life, which had been slowly getting better, was once again dragged into dark shadows. And at that time, I was only 23 years old. I had once thought of confessing everything to Liam. But before I could even open my mouth, Liam unexpectedly ran into Victor first. On my 23rd birthday, Victor came looking for me again, demanding money. I had not a single penny, and he, having lost all patience, started to hit me. This unfortunate incident happened in a small alley, not far from my rented room. Coincidentally, Liam, who was rushing back to celebrate my birthday, witnessed the entire scene. Without a moment's hesitation, he charged in, grabbed Victor, wrestled him to the ground, and gave him a severe beating. Passers-by, witnessing the violence, were terrified and quickly called the police. Both men were taken to the police station, causing a commotion that lasted late into the night. Liam's aunt happened to be on a business trip in the city. She stepped in, resolved everything, and bylaid him out. After everything was settled for Liam, his aunt specifically sought me out. Liam knows nothing about your family situation, and I don't want him to know, she said, producing some kind of certificate. This world is so small, I never imagined that the little girl I once sponsored would grow up to be so beautiful. I looked up at her in surprise. She was a woman who exuded intellect and elegance. I'm very happy to see you've grown up so well. But Hailey, Liam isn't right for you, she continued to explain. Their family had long ago mapped out a promising future path for Liam. She worried that I would become a major upheaval in his life. She also said that their family was very open-minded. If I had come from an ordinary family, they would wholeheartedly bless us. But my circumstances truly weren't my fault, and I stared at the thin paper on the table, feeling a lump in my throat, my eyes stinging. These words, I couldn't utter them to her. Tears welled up but had no right to fall in front of this woman, because she had sponsored me through high school. She was my benefactor. Liam didn't even know who he had fought that night. He just thought it was a drunk with ill intentions. So when he saw me again, he carefully lifted my face to examine it closely. Are you hurt anywhere? Clearly, he was the one with the bruised face, not me. I shook my head and pulled him to dinner. After that, he and I still acted normally with each other, trying to maintain a natural facade. It was just that my temper became more erratic. I frequently quarreled and argued with him. I deliberately spoke harsh, sharp words like daggers piercing others' hearts. I picked fights without reason. After more than a month, I decided to break up with Liam. I said that we weren't compatible, that I had grown tired of the relationship. That day, Liam rushed back from the neighboring city, stood downstairs of my apartment all night long, constantly sending me messages, begging me. But I tried my best not to reply to any of them. I stood silently by the window all night, watching him from afar. When dawn broke, in just a short span of 2 or 3 hours, I packed my bags and moved out, taking only a small suitcase. I left Liam, taking Victor with me, leaving him forever. From that day on, Liam never sent me another message. I had once thought that I would never be able to escape Victor until he died. But unexpectedly, this time, my luck was so good. Victor, after taking the money I gave him, continued down the path of gambling, betting bigger and bigger, losing more and more. The last time he came to see me, his eyes shone with greed. Give me another 100,000 yuan. I have a connection to Macau. This time, I'll definitely strike it rich. I suddenly noticed he was hiding a knife in his jacket pocket. He had truly reached the end of his rope. I couldn't disagree with him. I borrowed 100,000 yuan from Chloe and gave it to Victor. Victor took this money to Macau, but a month later, the police came to see me. They showed me Victor's photo and asked me to come to the police station for questioning. They informed me that Victor had lost a lot of money at an underground casino in Macau. He refused to acknowledge his debt and even pulled out a knife, causing a disturbance. During the scuffle, he fell to the ground. That very knife had pierced his heart, killing him instantly. Victor is dead? Victor is really dead. I sat in the police station, unable to suppress a burst of laughter. My laughter grew louder and louder until, finally, happy tears streamed from my eyes. The nightmare that had enveloped my life for so long now, without any warning, suddenly vanished completely. The moment I stepped out of the police station, I looked up at the sky above my head. The sunlight was more dazzling than ever, but I felt incredibly warm and comfortable. I pondered, telling myself, perhaps at this point, I can finally be considered a normal person, integrated into the flow of life. Nearly a year had passed since Liam and I decided to go our separate ways. Many times, I longed to go back and find him, but inner entanglements held me back, making me hesitate. Finally, I chose to secretly follow him through alternative accounts on social media platforms like Weibo and his friend circle, like a timid mouse. I desperately searched and dug, hoping to find even a small sign that there was still a chance for our unfinished love story to continue. However, I was disappointed, finding no desired clues. I even discovered that there was a very high probability that he had a new girlfriend by his side. This made me completely abandon the idea of getting back together. As I had once told myself, I was incredibly afraid of bothering others. And perhaps in his eyes now, I was nothing more than a nuisance. I slowly, little by little, convinced myself to live a good, normal life. It was okay not to have love. The important thing was to live well, to have one or two close friends to share with, to occasionally travel here and there, broaden my horizons, and see this beautiful world. That would be enough. But who would have thought that exactly 1 year later, fate would bring me to meet Liam again in such an awkward situation? Liam still patiently awaited my answer. My fingers, resting on my knees, subtly curled, revealing my confusion. Instead of answering, I chose to ask him a question in return. "Can I ask you something?" He nodded. "Go ahead." I took a deep breath, looked him straight in the eyes. "Do you have a girlfriend now?" "No," Liam answered decisively, without hesitation. "Never have." Hearing that, I was so surprised my eyes widened. Instinctively, I repeated his words, "Never have." "Then that photo of a woman's back that you posted on Weibo last year, wasn't that your girlfriend?" Liam tried to recall for a moment, then replied, "Ah, the photo you mentioned, that was probably my mother." I was silent for a long time, trying to swallow my embarrassment. "Your aunt really keeps in shape." Liam smiled faintly, his eyes a little teasing. "So, you've always been following my Weibo, have you? If I remember correctly, you blocked all my social media accounts before, didn't you?" Well, everyone has a few alternate accounts, right?" I awkwardly lowered my head, trying to hide my panic. Just as I gathered all my courage to confess everything to him, Chloe rushed over, interrupting our conversation. She quickly grabbed the wheelchair's handrail and took me from Liam's hands. "Sorry for the interruption. See you next time," she said, quick as the wind. I didn't understand why she was in such a hurry. I complained softly, "Did you have to be so punctual? I hadn't even finished talking." Chloe gritted her teeth and replied, "I couldn't help it. That old lady thought we were swindlers and is now using a megaphone, wanting to expose us for stealing her wheelchair. We have to return it quickly. I don't want to be on tomorrow's news." She turned sharply, and the wheelchair quickly merged into the crowd on the main road. I looked back, no longer seeing Liam. Immediately, I stomped my foot on the ground and quickly stood up. "Then we have to hurry," I said urgently. "That old lady has a loud voice. If Liam hears her, we're done for." As soon as I finished speaking, Chloe and I, one on each side, quickly lifted the wheelchair and ran frantically towards the source of the commotion. To repay Chloe's life-saving efforts, I, of course, had to treat her to that night's spicy hot pot at the night market. After learning that Liam was still single, Chloe immediately advised me to seize the opportunity and win him over quickly. In truth, I had already been thinking the same thing. These past few days, Liam and I had kept in touch. Even simple, brief greetings were enough to make me feel content. I sensed that during our conversations, he always intentionally avoided the topic of my legs. So, I decided to ask him out to explain everything, to bear all my thoughts. But who knew life was always full of unpredictable surprises? That afternoon, I was woken by the commotion coming from outside my door. As soon as I opened the door, my neighbor, Auntie, rushed over, frantically announcing, "There's a fire downstairs. Hurry, get downstairs." It turned out that an electric blanket in the apartment below had short-circuited and caught fire. In just an instant, the entire floor was engulfed in thick smoke. I quickly threw on my pajamas, grabbed my phone, and rushed to the stairs. In the chaos, I helped Auntie, holding her small dog tightly in my arms, and ran downstairs, full of worry. Halfway down, I heard the commotion downstairs growing much louder. "The firefighters are here. Has everyone been evacuated? Have all residents on the 14th floor been evacuated?" That voice sounded so strangely familiar. The urgent, noisy footsteps grew louder and louder. I quickly bowed my head, and then I saw Liam's familiar face, rushing up the stairs. The moment he saw me standing there, it was as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his heart. He let out a faint sigh of relief. However, he didn't stop but continued to rush upwards. As he passed me, he whispered very softly, barely loud enough for only me to hear, "Go to a safe place and wait for me." And just like that, he plunged into the stream of panicked people running down, heading upstream to face the danger. I turned my head, watching his retreating figure grow smaller and smaller until he disappeared behind the door. Fortunately, the fire wasn't as large or widespread as everyone feared. In just about 10 minutes, the firefighters quickly controlled and extinguished the raging blaze. Nearly an hour later, after the firefighters had thoroughly checked, ensuring there were no lingering embers that could reignite, they began to withdraw from the scene. Liam stepped out from the emergency exit, his eyes scanning around as if searching for someone. When he saw me, smudged and huddled by the flower bed, his eyes paused for a moment, perhaps out of pity. But then he quickly masked that expression and continued to busy himself with his unfinished command duties. The smoke-filled house was certainly uninhabitable for the night. Fortunately, kind neighbors quickly helped me find temporary lodging. I picked up my phone to call Chloe, my closest friend. I briefly explained the situation to her. A frantic shriek echoed from the other end of the line. "Oh my God, thank goodness nothing serious happened. Just come stay at my place. You know the door code." It turned out she had been at her idol's concert in the neighboring city for the past 2 days and couldn't come back right away. I replied to her, reassured her with a few more words, then hung up. As soon as I turned around, I saw Liam standing not far from me. He was leaning against the fire truck, drinking from a bottle of mineral water. His gaze rested on my straight, slender legs, but without any lust, only a searching, discerning look. He put the water bottle down and asked, "You were so agile carrying that dog downstairs. Do you normally exercise often?" I was stunned, not knowing how to answer. "This is a long story, but I can tell you the short version," I said. I looked down at the messy pajamas I was wearing, feeling a little embarrassed. "I need to find a place to change first. Can we talk later?" Liam silently watched me for a moment, then suddenly took a key card from the truck and walked straight over, tossing it to me. I quickly caught the card, a bit confused, not understanding what was happening. "What is this?" "An access card," Liam replied coolly. "Tianhu District, Building 3, Unit 1, Number 1205. My house. There's a guest room you can stay in." Seeing my silence, he seemed about to withdraw his offer, holding out his hand and asking, "Have you found a place already?" "No, not yet." I quickly avoided his hand as he reached for the card, swiftly tucking it into my bag. "Thank you. I'm sorry to trouble you for the next few days." "Chloe, I'm sorry, but didn't you tell me to seize the opportunity?" That evening, Liam returned home. I had already showered. He pushed the door open, and the moment he saw me, his steps faltered. I felt incredibly embarrassed. "I rushed over so fast I forgot to bring clothes, so I borrowed your t-shirt for now." I was wearing his oversized t-shirt, which made me look even smaller. Liam averted his gaze, his tone still calm as ever. "It's fine, just wear it." I breathed a sigh of relief, then heard him add another sentence that startled me. "It's not like you haven't worn my clothes before." Liam finished showering, and it was already past midnight. I sat in the living room, waiting for him. He walked out and glanced at the cup of coffee I had prepared and placed on the coffee table. "Drinking coffee this late? Can't sleep?" "Probably not." I forced a smile. "There's so much I want to say." I always felt this conversation would have to last a very long time. Liam nodded and walked straight into the kitchen, making himself a cup of coffee. He brought his coffee out and sat opposite me. He looked calm, but I subtly noticed that his left thumb kept rubbing his index finger. This was a small gesture he often made when he felt nervous. For some reason, seeing that gesture, my heart ached slightly. I felt a pang of pain for him, so I couldn't help but speak first. "I'm sorry, I lied to you." This time, I decided not to hide anything from him. The misunderstanding about my legs, the reason we broke up 7 years ago, my past, my family, I left out no detail. Everything Liam wanted to know, I honestly told him. By the end, I realized that this was not as difficult as I had imagined. It was as if a huge rock had always been weighing heavily on my heart. And as I spoke these words, it was like those rocks were slowly being moved away, making me feel much lighter. The more I spoke, an indescribable sense of relief surged within me. It felt as though the burden that had weighed me down for so long was finally being cast off. I looked at Liam and said softly yet firmly, "Liam, everything you wanted to know, all the secrets hidden in my heart, I have honestly told you." My hand trembled as I held the long cold coffee cup, a vague sense of unease creeping into my mind. Do you have anything else you want to ask me?" The space plunged into an eerie silence. Liam said nothing, only watched me in silence. The time seemed to stretch endlessly, to the point where I couldn't control my curiosity, and I looked up at him. When our eyes met, I realized he had always been watching me, but his gaze was filled with myriad complex emotions. I briefly saw surprise, a hint of pity, deep empathy, and even regret, but absolutely no accusation in his eyes. After a period of silence, Liam finally spoke, his voice low. "Running around on such a long journey alone, bearing so many difficulties by yourself, did you ever feel miserable?" I didn't want to and couldn't lie to him. I honestly nodded, admitting, "Miserable. Yes. Not just miserable, but very miserable. But just thinking of the beautiful days ahead, thinking of the rest of my life being filled with joy and happiness, then all the suffering seemed to just vanish." Liam finally couldn't suppress his curiosity. He hesitated, asking me, "So, what am I to you?" I tried my best to keep my voice calm, hiding the confusion and fear surging within me. But when the question left my lips, I still couldn't hide the tremor in my voice. "You are the only sweetness in the bitter half of my life." Liam froze, looking up at me, his eyes seeming to hold 1,000 questions. Previously, when we were together, I rarely said sentimental words. I always felt shy, finding it difficult to express myself. But only now did I realize that sincere words from the bottom of my heart could be uttered so easily. "Liam, you are a very rare, very precious person to me, so I didn't dare to gamble with you, not even a little." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice as calm as possible. I looked straight into Liam's eyes, saying as sincerely as I could, "But now I have resolved the troubles in my life. I am a normal person. I have the right to pursue my own happiness." I paused for a moment, then gathered all my courage, my voice trembling as I asked, "So, can I pursue you?" Liam looked at me, his face showing no emotion. His silence made me even more frightened. Just as I was about to say something more to express my feelings, to make him understand my sincerity, he suddenly spoke, "You always have that right." I didn't react quickly enough, asking in bewilderment, "What? Hailey, what do you think is the reason I applied for a transfer from the neighboring city to here?" His voice was gentle, but made my heart tremble violently. "Clearly, you're not from around here. Why are there so many residential areas, and you absolutely had to come to my building to promote fire safety knowledge?" His voice was low, carrying a deep unspoken meaning. "Just because I accidentally saw someone posting about moving on social media." It turned out he wasn't someone without an alternate account either. All the things I thought were coincidences and surprises were his careful calculations from a long time ago. I looked at him in astonishment, unable to speak. Liam suddenly stood up, his voice deepening. "But you've deceived me for so long, I won't forgive you easily." Seeing him about to return to his room, a vague sense of fear suddenly surged within me. I quickly chased after him, grabbing his arm, and asked, Then how long?" "I don't know," he replied coldly, then walked into his room and slammed the door shut. When I lay down on the bed, the clock had already struck 4 a.m. I don't know if it was the effect of the cold coffee or not, but I tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep until 5 a.m. At 5:01 a.m., there was a sudden knock on the bedroom door. I sprang up like a carp, rushing to open the door. Because my movements were too quick, the oversized men's t-shirt I was wearing shifted, revealing nearly half of my shoulder. Liam looked at me, very naturally reaching out to help me pull my shirt back up. I suddenly realized my face was burning red with embarrassment. "Is something wrong?" I stammered. "Are you hungry?" he asked me, his eyes gentle. "There's a breakfast place downstairs. Want to go down and have breakfast with me?" I didn't hesitate, nodding repeatedly. Liam handed me 2 sets of clothes, his voice soft. "Wear these for now. I'll take you to buy new clothes tomorrow morning after it's bright." I took the clothes, and seeing him turn to go back to his room, I instinctively reached out and tugged at his sleeve. Liam froze. I observed his profile, trying to read his thoughts. Did you forgive me?" he replied softly, his voice still a little cool. "When?" I was surprised by his generosity. 4 o'clock. He only needed a short 10 minutes to forgive the lies I had hidden from him for all these years. Looking at Liam's back, my heart couldn't help but twist, a lump of heartache rising in my throat. I gently wrapped my arms around his sturdy waist, leaning my forehead against his broad back, softly whispering a thankful and cherished, "Thank you." Being with him, I always felt a difference, a kind of pampering and tolerance that I had perhaps never experienced before. I could whimsically get angry for no reason, I could stubbornly do as I pleased, and even if I accidentally made mistakes, I always received his gentle forgiveness. 3 months later, a coincidence led me to meet Liam's aunt again. That day, I brought things to his house, habitually entered the familiar code, gently pushed open the door, and unexpectedly found myself facing the woman standing in the living room. Her eyes flashed with a hint of surprise, but then she quickly recognized me. "Hailey," she called my name, her tone a little probing. In that moment, I suddenly felt tense, my mind blank, only managing to stammer a "yes, auntie," before immediately feeling embarrassed, my face flushing. In contrast to my confusion, she smiled first. "Want a cup of coffee?" She explained that she was there for work and had taken the opportunity to visit Liam. She had stayed at his house for 2 days and was returning today. Meeting again after 2 years, I still couldn't hide my inner awkwardness. I had previously promised not to bother Liam's life anymore, but in the end, I couldn't keep my word. Just as I was about to open my mouth to apologize, I heard her speak. "I'm sorry, child." I froze, not understanding what she meant. "I've wanted to tell you this for a very long time." She looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. "For the past 2 years, I often wondered if I was too harsh on you. You were only 23 then, still a young girl. You couldn't choose your family background, and even the person you loved was prevented by me. Thinking about those things, I always felt I treated you unfairly." Pausing for a moment, she continued, "Now, seeing you, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Hailey, you are a very strong, very capable person." She gently placed her hand on the back of my hand, a warm touch dispelling the coldness in my heart. "Can you forgive me?" Hearing her sincere words, my eyes suddenly welled up. I covered my face, silently sobbing. She said nothing, only sat beside me, kindly offering me tissues when I needed them. She gently patted my back, comforting me. "From now on, just call me Auntie, like Liam does. His parents also really want to meet you. If you have time, please come to our house." In that moment, I completely believed a saying I had once read: "Every person's fortune and misfortune are destined." Perhaps I had suffered too much in the first half of my life. Therefore, the rest of my life would be a smooth path, paved with flowers. Chloe reacted very strongly to Liam and my reunion. "Already, my sister, you're amazing." She beamed, proud of her matchmaking efforts, cheering and demanding that Liam and I treat her to a grand meal. I squinted at her, a suspicious look on my face. "What's wrong with you? Usually, best friends don't wish for their friends to date. Why are you so keen on Liam and me getting back together?" Chloe didn't look up, still engrossed in grooming her beloved dog. "Because I want you to be happy. You're a sensitive soul with strong empathy. You always treat everyone well, but you always like to punish yourself. Being friends with you is fun, but sister, don't be too hard on yourself. You deserve happiness too." She winked mischievously. "I think Liam's pretty good too, haha." Before I could even be touched by her sincere words, she pulled me up. "Let's go." "Go where?" "A new spicy hot pot place just opened downstairs. Let's go review it. Oh, and you're treating this time."